Well, we find ourselves in Indian Neck, Virginia, and what a special day. We have invaded this nice lady who happens to be one of the few female chiefs of Indian nations, and we're here in Virginia, in Indian Neck, Virginia, and I've invaded her privacy and threatened her with awful things if she didn't interview, and she agreed, thank heavens. And she threatened to beat me and chase me through the woods. But here we are with
Chief Ann Richardson.
Chief Ann Richardson, and your Indian name is?
Little Fawn.
Okay, and the Indian pronunciation would be?
I don't know the Indian pronunciation of
We'll
it.
work on that.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're the chief of the?
Rappahannock tribe.
Okay, and the Rappahannock tribe, we are, just to place it for especially the people overseas, we're in Virginia, just sort of northeast of Richmond and sort of southwest of Rappahannock.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And I had just a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Where is your favorite place on earth?
My favorite place on earth is the Rappahannock River.
Oh, sweet. That was what I was hoping for.
It's a very sweet place.
And in your just few years here on Mother Earth, what has she taught you for a lesson?
Oh my goodness, so much. I don't know. We don't have time for that interview, but
Okay.
A lot.
And
A lot was taught to me by the elders, and they used examples of nature to teach me life lessons.
Okay, and what advice would you have for the rest of us poor dumb creatures here on Mother Earth?
Listen to the native people. They know what they're talking about.
Very nice.
Been here a long time.
Yes, and they're talking about dating it at 12,000, but I've heard 60,000 years. That this, in Virginia especially, they've actually dated back 30,000 years in places and know that it's just unrecorded before that. Anyway, next two questions are very optional. What has been the greatest moment of your life?
The greatest moment of my life? When my daughter was born.
Okay. And her name is?
Dana.
Dana. Indian name?
Shining Star.
Oh, wow. And also optional, what's been the worst moment of your life?
The worst moment of my life? The death of my parents.
Oh, yes, I know. You're preaching to the choir right there, that's for sure. And here's the question I came all this way to ask you. How do you feel about being Native American?
Totally awesome. Totally awesome. I think it's such an honor and a privilege to have this blood go through my veins and to have the legacy of all the generations before me and the knowledge that's been passed down that the world needs today to survive. And I think that the Creator has preserved First Nations people for such a time as this in history, that we would rise up with the innate knowledge that He has given us and has given the earth to be able to show a poor, lost, confused world the way to go.
Wow, that's a lot better answer than I would have. You're much more articulate than I. And extra question for you, because you would be very special in being a female chief, and which there was female chiefs earlier, like 800 years ago, maybe, I think.
Yeah, I'm the first woman chief to be elected in this tribe since 1705.
Right, that's what I was thinking. And just very briefly, Virginia is one of the few states that historically they've kept pretty good track of the history. And the one that floored me was when, and I try not to do European intervention, but it just shocked me that when the Europeans touched this continent for the first time, there were over 50,000 natives in Virginia alone, in all the combined tribes.
Yes.
It staggers me. How many are in your nation?
We've only got about 200 and 30 enrolled people right now, but there are more that are coming.
Wow.
People who have been lost, and I don't know if you know the story about our diaspora, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
in the late 1800s after the Civil War. And because we were not a part of the Civil War, so a lot of people migrated out and went into the Ojibwe country
Mm-hmm.
in Canada. And so after the Civil War, Chief George Nelson, his photo is over there, started to collect our people back and reorganized us into one group in 1921.
Wow.
And so I'm a fourth generation chief that has been documented in my family. And I know that that family lineage goes a long ways back, that more than we can document. We also are a matriarchal society.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And,
I was going to ask that too.
So the leadership in this tribe has passed through the women.
Of course.
And so I have lived in the house with three chiefs and received instruction and traditional training my whole entire life.
Wow.
Never dreamed that I would be chief because we'd always had men. But when my dad got sick, and I had been assistant chief since I was 21.
Wow.
Assisting him in the battles for recognition, the battles for education, and a number of different issues that we were dealing with here in the state of Virginia. So it was just a natural ascension, I guess.
Yeah, and of course the old saying is that the man is always the head of the household, but the woman's the neck that turns the head.
Well, this is very true. So, yeah, that's kind of how I became chief. But it was one of my great life's honors that my people would vote me in to represent them.
And to grow up in that atmosphere too. So you would be one of the lucky ones to be Native, not that you were not lucky. It's the opposite way around.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So that's kind of how I became chief, and I think I represent some of the greatest people in the world. They're smart and they are refined, and they have great ideas for strategies and
recent recognition too.
And recent recognition, and those great people and those great strategies and those intelligent minds are what gave us strategies to help get recognition.
So for the other people around on Mother Earth, can you give us a brief description of the recognition that you've recently got, full recognition?
Right. What can I say about that? When we talk about recognition, Chief George, in 1921, when he reorganized the tribe, he chartered us with the state of Virginia, made a legal entity out of our tribe in an effort to fight what was happening against our recognition in Richmond. And so he went before the Congress and petitioned the Congress for the civil and sovereign rights of the Rappahannocks, and was turned down. And was so mad that when we got citizenship in 1924, he threatened to relinquish our citizenship in the United States because they would not recognize our treaties or our sovereignty.
So for the rest of the world, when you're talking about no recognition, they're talking about that you don't even exist, or you never did exist, that you're not believable.
Right.
So
and trying to actually steal your birthright.
Yes, exactly.
From you. And that went on until January of this year.
Oh my goodness.
And finally, through prayer, strategizing, and divine intervention from God, it came through.
Wow.
And a president who everybody says is prejudiced and he's this and he's that came right up and signed our bill for restoration of our tribe.
Sweet.
Donald Trump.
Yep. Well, I can't thank you enough for this time. I know, your life is very busy. Yeah. And then you're going to have Gene beat me through the woods with a stick when we get done. But thank you very much.
You're welcome.